Good morning to you. It is the 9th day of December 2025, 16 days to Christmas, 22 days until we call it a wrap 2025. This is Morning Cafe. My name is Ann Odida. Karibu sana.
My name is Linda Alela. The beautiful thing about the morning shows is that we always keep track of the days. And as Odida says, it's just around the corner. Christmas is around the corner. I hope you have had a best of the year. And of course, looking forward to a good Christmas and a good next year.
Absolutely. And speaking of keeping track, today is Genocide Prevention Day.
Yep.
And this day started as an effort by the United Nations to remember the victims of genocide and prevent further occurrences. Now, a lot is happening. It's not the only day we are marking today. It's also International Anti-Corruption Day, rather. And of course, International Day of Veterinary Medicine. So even as we celebrate the 9th of December, remember there's a lot to celebrate today. How hot is your coffee this morning? Interact with us on our socials. But first, let's take a look at the local dailies. And we'll start off with the Daily Nation this morning. Revealed how to get top senior school slots, of course, ahead of the KCSE results release.
Wapigania viatu vya Raila Taifa Leo this morning.
The Standard, the ID scandal.
And the other side of the Star, unregistered 1.5 million Nyanza voters to swing 2027 polls. People Daily, Kalonzo Musyoka's bold strategy for 2027 is the main headline on the front page. And we have on the Business Daily, KTDA factory loans rise to about 26 billion on borrowing spree.
All right, we'll be back to take a look at the local dailies in depth, but first,
on the State of the Nation, this is what we'll be getting to. Of course, this is not it, but when we're talking about the State of the Nation, you know, basically we're looking at everything and anything about current affairs. But of course, to let you know who we'll be having on set, we'll be having James Kekuya, Member of Parliament of Embakasi North, as well as Harrison Kinyanjui, Advocate of the High Court, and last but not least, Joshua Nyamuri, Advocate of the High Court, to the gentleman that will help us crack down on the matters that are happening in the country. Absolutely.
Tuvuke boda, and we'll start off in Uganda. Government to recruit 1,400 teachers. They say CAOs directed to facilitate process before end of this year. And this story has been captured in page 3 of the New Vision. Kama kawaida, the New Vision's front page is yellow. Of course, as campaigns continues, they say Museveni pledges to establish military barracks in Kamwenge. Promises, kama kawaida. And as always, again, on the front page of the New Vision, they have a space here for other presidential candidates in Uganda. Chagulanyi to fix Gators, Muntu to tarmac 119 kilometers Zombo Road is another story on page 8 of this newspaper. Still on the top strip, IEBC, that is Electoral Commission, and Human Rights Body condemn Gulu chaos. This is Uganda. And on the other side, Ugandans urged to utilize zero tariff China deal. Vibes fade, HIV does not.
Wow.
Yes.
Polite reminder. Is it polite?
It's
harsh
polite.
Reminder. Harsh reminder.
Eventually.
Unfortunately, and when it comes and knocks in, there's nothing you can do to reverse that, and therefore it's a polite reminder that you need to stay woke and be careful.
Absolutely. Still matters election. Electoral Commission declares Jacqueline Mbabazi unopposed.
Of course, as a representative of the oldies in Parliament of Uganda. And Museveni pledges to establish military barracks in Kamwenge. I think it's largely about giving promises and promises and promises as they head to the polls.
All right, that's the New Vision.
And the Daily Monitor, US-Uganda Health Data Sharing Pact raises privacy concerns. I think it's not just in Kenya that we have this health pact and pacts with the US. Of course, you would expect such conversations and concerns to come up. The biggest story, silence in the House of Speech. Ironically, a survey of the Hansard shows that a tiny fraction of the legislators get to speak on the floor of Parliament, with some attributing it to incompetence, while others think the overcrowded house does not give each a level playing field. That is captured on page 4 and 5, pretty much of what it is that happens back at home. Members of parliament sent to parliament to represent the people, but they barely speak about the concerns of the people. And Museveni to establish barracks to check ADF. I think we've also captured that on the other paper, and deals at UNMISS, URA, Ministry of Finance, UNICEF, ERA, World Vision International, and the likes.
So ukiwa Uganda, kuna kazi hapo.
Right.
That's as far as Uganda is concerned. Let's cross over to Tanzania. The Citizen, what will Nyerere do is a question they asked this morning.
Right.
And as Tanzania marks the Independence Day of Tanganyika, a country that later united with Zanzibar to form the United Republic of Tanzania, the country finds itself reflecting not only on its political journey, but also on urgent questions about unity, nationhood, and the path forward after the turbulence that followed the October 29 general election. So they ask, what will Nyerere do?
Wow.
According to a political historian and former don at Mzumbe University, that is Dr. Lilian Mgaya, she says Mwalimu never shied away from difficult conversations. He believed in the power of sitting together, speaking honestly, and most importantly, listening to each other. At this moment, he would urge Tanzanians to lower the political temperature, to agree on the facts, and to search for a collective way forward.
Pretty much what Mama Samia Suluhu has done, but with a bit of restrictions as to the freedom of going out there and, you know, picketing, as well as, you know, condemning this.
Yes. So this story has been covered on page 2, 3, and 5, and say elders call for youth guidance, not criticism. Beyond icons, the unsung architects of independence, being celebrated today as Tanzania marks Independence Day of Tanganyika.
All right.
Other quick headlines.
Tanzania aims to save over 2.8 trillion shillings by boosting local production.
That's another story on page 4. On the top strip, driver database set to enhance trust in transport sector. That's as far as the Citizen is concerned, still in Tanzania.
And on the other side, Mwananchi, wameliweka kwa kusoma Kiswahili, hofu heka heka sikukuu ya uhuru. It's basically what is going down there, but of course the government has called upon the people of Tanzania not to hit the streets, instead to focus on looking at the positives of what the nation has achieved. And of course, Dundo, huduma za simama, I mean basically what is happening. The questions of internet, wanasema kwamba huduma ya interneti pia ikawa iko chini, ulinzi kila kona. Inamaanisha kwamba serikali imetia mikakati kuhakikisha kwamba there is a peace, and of course kubaki ndani. Serikali imetangaza kuwa leo ni mapumziko na kuwasaa wasio au kuwasihi wasio na kazi za lazima kubaki majumbani. On the other side, wanasema kwamba Simba Chaweni ayaonya polisi wasikatae au aonya polisi wasikamate watu kininja. Interesting. Kininja kumbe Kiswahili sanifu
Kabisa.
Anasema kwamba hii
nimekwisha mwelekeza IGP huu ukimtaji wa sasa hapana, ukamataji wa sasa hapana. Tunataka ukamataji wenye staha na unaozingatia sheria. Huu ukamataji wa polisi wamevaa ninja na silaha nzito nzito katika kipindi hiki nisingependa litokee.
Wajua Watanzania walikuwa wamezoea kwamba hata polisi akija kukushika au kukukamata na kuambia naomba nikukamate.
Oh wow.
Sasa for the first time wana experience vitu ambavyo ni tofauti. Nafikiri wanaona kama huo ni ukandamizaji wa uhuru wao.
Au ni waziri wa mambo ya ndani kule Tanzania. Habari hii kuu katika ukurasa wa mbele wa gazeti hili unasema kwamba wananchi wafurika masokoni kununua vyakula, bei za bidhaa zikipaa. Samia atuma salamu, Simba Chawene asema hakuna maandamano. Simba Chawene is the waziri wa mambo ya ndani. Na JWTZ, hii ni jina ya mtu. Polisi waimarisha ulinzi kule Tanzania.
But of course we can only wish them peace because it's critical for the East African community, and you actually realize that most of the cartoon editions today have captured what is happening in Tanzania. We'll be getting to that.
Mchengerwa anasema ni marufuku hospitali zote kuzuia maiti. Na kule juu mikakati mipya kuokoa shilingi trilioni 2 bidhaa za ndani kule Tanzania. That's as far as the regional dailies are concerned. We'll be back to take a look at the local dailies in depth. Tuangalie hali ya anga across the country. Tunaanza Naivasha. It's 12 degrees this morning in Naivasha. Feels like 11 degrees. It's a cloudy day. Highs of 24 degrees. And precipitation in Naivasha today, 10%. That is very minimal rainfall. Comfortable weather in Naivasha. No chances of rain. Tukienda this 24 degrees, it will persist into the weekend. It will just drop by 1 degree to 23 degrees. Tukienda Garissa, this morning is 24 degrees, feels like 26. It's a cloudy day as well.
Yeah.
Highs of 35 degrees in Garissa. It's a hot day here, so precipitation, they say it's 10%. But as you can see, no chances of rain. But they say by Saturday, it's likely to rain. Precipitation will be 20% on a Saturday. And as we can see here, of course, light rain expected on Saturday.
Right.
But before that, jua inawaka. Kilifi, Tony, if it's holiday weather, 26 degrees this morning, feels like 29. It's a mostly cloudy day. Precipitation in Kilifi today, it's 20%, so it's likely to rain periodically though. They say 10 a.m. To 12 p.m. thereabout. Kutanyesha. This 31 degrees will persist into next week.
All right.
So the weather in Kilifi has been standardized. In Kakamega, 17 degrees this morning, feels like it. It's a cloudy day today.
Right.
Highs of 31 degrees, precipitation 10%, no chances of rain in Kakamega. It's a hot day. 31 degrees persist. It will drop next week. It'll peak at 25 thereabout. So it's a hot week this week in Kakamega. Nyeri?
Nyeri.
All right.
All right.
11 degrees.
Degrees, yeah.
Feels like 10 degrees. It's a cloudy day in Nyeri. Highs of 23. Precipitation in Nyeri 10%, so no chances of rain. That is very minimal. However, tomorrow it will rain. Tuangalie kesho, wanasema precipitation for tomorrow 30%. That's definitely rainfall will be expected tomorrow and Thursday as well, and the weekend.
Okay. Last but not least, Nairobi.
16 degrees as we speak, feels like 15. It's a mostly cloudy day today in Nairobi, highs of 26 degrees. Precipitation 10%, no chances of rain today in Nairobi. This 26 degrees, it's just for today. By Friday, tomorrow will be 27 degrees into the weekend. Next week, just a slight drop on Thursday, 24 degrees.
Okay.
That's the weather situation.
The
Nairobi traffic. Yesterday, we had nothing much to report about. Tuangalie if there's something
Looks like today there's actually nothing to report about.
There's
First glance,
nothing.
you know?
First of its kind. Hapa usually is a trouble spot. Let's see if there's something. But as you can see, Muthaiga interchange today looks, there's
totally nothing.
Totally nothing. So if you're living Thika Road, this is the best. There's something on Thika Road. This is Roasters around Garden City Mall. So there's definitely a snarl up here, but hapa nimekusanyika. That means Muthaiga interchange is clear.
I think it's probably the roundabout thing, but it's not so bad.
So those living Kiambu Road, this is the best time to leave because watu wa Thika Road wamekwama huko nyuma. If we go into the city center, this is Landis Road.
Bit of it, kidogo.
Looking good. Traders making their way into town, nothing to worry about here in Kawaida. Jogo Road also looking good, nothing to worry about in Magari too inaenda town. Mombasa Road.
Mombasa Road, there's a problem here around Cabanas area.
Right, there's something there. This interchange, Cabanas bus stop, lakini we can assume
it's basically because of the turnings and all that.
If you go way back to Mombasa Road, looking good, green all the way. Let's go this other side of town. This is Ngong Road. Langata Road looking good as well. Nothing to worry about. Clear roads. Tuangalie Waiyaki. Hawa ni watu who are working from home, so usually there's nothing much here.
Even this side of Lavington is very
clear.
Most of the times you'd find traffic around Gitanga Road, but it looks good. Parklands, Surrey, all these areas. Kiambu Road, that's Kiambu Road. Yes, it's Kiambu Road. Looking good all the way. So nothing to report about. That's the traffic situation. 14 minutes past 6 a.m. Let's have the quote of the day.
Optimism is our happiness magnet. If you stay positive, good things and good people will be drawn to you.
All right, let's come back and take a look at the local dailies in depth. All right, and we start off with the Daily Nation. How to get top senior school slots. Transition, they say 1.1 million learners who completed junior school are awaiting their grade 9 test results. Grade 10 learners will know the senior schools they will join before Christmas Day, with top candidates assured of their preferred schools. This story has been captured on page 4. They say candidates with automatic admission to boarding schools of their choice. They say top 6 learners per gender in each STEM track per sub-county, top 3 learners per gender in each social science track per sub-county, top 2 learners per gender in each arts and sports science track per sub-county. Candidates with achievement level averaging 7 and 8 per track. Matters transfers here as well. They say requests to change schools to be made through the heads of junior schools at least 2 weeks before the official reporting date. Now, a lot has changed, of course, with the CBE here with us. So this is what to expect, and this has been captured on page 4 of the Daily Nation. You can read more about it to find out more. Other quick headlines?
Well, impact of AI on environment in focus as a global meeting opens, and we know that delegates now follow proceedings at the 7th session of the United Nations Environment Assembly, that is UNER 7, here in Nairobi. And of course, as of yesterday, President Ruto is set to address the meeting on Thursday, basically, of course, as the world comes together to focus much on how best we can continue dealing with the concerns of the environment. And in Tanzania, diplomacy on the question of that, Kenyan activists to protest against ruthless crackdown by Suluhu's regime. Organizers have planned a procession to the Tanzanian embassy that is in Nairobi in solidarity with critics of President Samia Suluhu. It will be interesting to watch just how East Africans have decided to come together to address East African matters.
On the top strip, matters by elections, IEBC laments politicians try to influence poll officials. That story is on page 6. And how officials have turned state offices into graft dens. The anti-corruption agency lists dozens of ministries, agencies and counties under probe for shady deals running into billions. The story is on page 7. The Daily Nation has captured a lot of their stories on the front page. Tukiangalia the back page, subtle tricks Leopards employed to defeat Gor. Matters football, they say Leopards rise to 7th in FKF Premier League after Sunday's win. Win was an accumulation of deliberate efforts by a team that sought to be the first to do everything. And Kenyan youngsters Kibugu and Wafula earn tickets to prestigious Pro Golf Tour. That's the Daily Nation this morning. We take a look at the Taifa Leo.
Wapigania viatu vya Raila. I think it's basically all about the Orange Democratic movement, conversation. Wanasema kwamba Gladys Wanga wa ODM na Raymond Omolo anayegemea upande wa serikali na UDA wajipata katika mapambano makali, huku Opiyo Wandayi kitawazwa ndio na wazee kuwa msemaji wa jamii ya Luo. Na Mbadi ameomba apewe mwenge, naye Babu amekuwa akishabikiwa na kushawishiwa ajitose jukwani. Kutakuwaje? And I think hii imepita kiwango cha ODM na kufikia kiwango cha jamii ya Luo.
Harakati ya kumrithi kigogo wa siasa za Nyanza yashika mkondo mpya na kuibua uhasama baina ya wawaniaji. Wako wote hapa mbele katika ukurasa wa mbele wa gazeti hili. Gavana Gladys Wanga, gavana wa Homa Bay, mbunge wa Embakasi Babu Owino, waziri Opiyo Wandayi, waziri John Mbadi na vilevile katibu wa masuala ya ndani Raymond Omolo. Vidokeze zaidi, EACC yataja walaji wa pesa za raia. Anasema tume yasema imeokoa shilingi bilioni 38 huku ikianika mashirika yaliyoshiriki ufisadi. Habari kamili katika ukurasa wa 4 wa gazeti hili. Na walimu wa sayansi kupewa umuhimu. TSC yasema walimu wa sayansi na teknolojia kupewa kipaumbele katika ajira next year.
Macho yakiangaziwa Tanzania kama tulivyosema hapo awali. Nafikiri wanazungumzia masuala ya maandamano, huku serikali ikisema kwamba haitakikani Watanzania wakwende kufanya maandamano, lakini Wakenya na watu wengine kutoka East Africa wameamua kwamba itakuwa ni vizuri, au Afrika Mashariki wanasema kwamba ni bora waingilie kati na kuweza kusukuma ili ndugu zetu wa Tanzania basi wapate haki ya kuweza kutekeleza mambo yao ya kidemokrasia.
Kule jinsi watoto watapewa shule grade 9, we've talked about that in the Daily Nation, but this newspaper says mbinu ya kuwapa shule za sekondari pevu watahiniwa wa KJSEA sasa yafichuliwa katika ukurasa wa pili wa gazeti hili. Masala ya spoti pale.
Macho kwa Salah, Reds ikipigania UEFA leo. Kwa hiyo uhusiano baridi wa Salah na slot ambayo ni Liverpool ikizuru Inter Milan.
All right, that's Taifa Leo. And the Standard, the ID scandal, this is the only story that has been captured on the front page of this newspaper. They say identity theft and the arrest of 26 suspects in a fast-growing citizenship for sale racket has added fresh urgency to concerns that President Ruto's decision to scrap security vetting for ID applicants in the northern Kenya region and other border counties has opened a dangerous loophole. Critics who warn that decree will be exploited now feel vindicated as racketeers, rogue clerks and middlemen collude to dish out Kenyan nationality at a fee. Investigators say Northeastern has emerged as one of the biggest beneficiaries of the fraud, with criminal networks exploiting the relaxed rules to slip foreigners through the system and undermine national security. This story has been covered on page 4 and 5. We see faces here on the front page. Easily North Assistant Chief, Registrar of Persons, Head Office, David Koriri, also here. Registrar of Persons in Kamukunji as well, Clerk of Shima Group International, Registrar of Persons Embakasi, Clerk at Immigration Head Office. People at the center stage of the ID scandal as captured by the Standard this morning. This story is on page 4 and 5 is the only story once again. But kiangalia ndani page 2, they make mention first ever KJSEA exam results put new school curriculum to the test. They say in the new system, the summative test accounts for 60% of a student's final score, and the remaining 40% is derived from school-based assessment. That's another story on page 2. And Saudi envoy not immune from prison in labor abuse row, court has ruled. Tukiangalia the back page of the Standard, that is sports, Moroccans lift their eyes to the mountain. They say Hakimi inspired host Morocco in the team to beat at 2025 AFCON. And Ivory Coast and Egypt, Nigeria and Senegal are some of the challenges. That's as far as the Standard is concerned this morning. Lester.
And registered 1.5 million Nyanza voters to swing 2027 polls. There's quite some interest on how the people of Nyanza are going to, vote, but of importance, basically, what is happening there in terms of leadership and who's going to take after Raila. Region's voter listing lays bare untapped electoral might, historic exclusion. And it's interesting that also yesterday it was captured somewhere that, most of the people from this region have gone out to register in large numbers. Perhaps it is their time to make a statement. And intrigues in 2027 Nairobi governor race. So this is one of the conversations that we will be having, because we have James Gakuya on set, and of course we have advocates that are pretty much interested in what happens in the city under the sun. So, of course, the biggest faces that are likely to be the greatest contenders, of course, the sitting governor, Johnson Sakaja Babu Owino of ODM. Agnes Gakure was there last time, and of course is still there. Moses Kuria comes in, and, Irungu Nyekera, as well as George Aladwa, and last but not least, James Gakuya. These are great faces in the politics of this nation, and therefore Nairobi is not going to be an easy race come 2027 all things remaining constant and if we're going to have all these spaces intact. And of course, on the other side, use of tobacco linked to rising infertility cases. This is a caution that comes from the World Health Organization. They say tobacco use is emerging as a silent but powerful cause of infertility worldwide. And the World Health Organization warns in its first ever global guidelines on preventing and treating the condition. Details of this you get on page 2 of the Star newspaper. The details of the other story, page 7 of the Star newspaper. And First Day in Cell pushed me to advocate for the needy. This is according to Matende. Well, he says, for believers, names have power. Perhaps this was always on Reverend John War's mind when he named his grandchild Melchizedek, and of course that is biblical, means among other things justice. Robert Matende tells the Star, apart from preaching. I think that's a special feature pretty much on the question of how you get to name your kids and what it feels like, captured on page 12. On the first bit, or perhaps right to the top of the strip, and we have brewing trouble where members of parliament on the spot audit exposes CDF cash misuse. This is not strange. This is common. Many a times the members of parliament will tell you they do not manage the CDF, but the irony of it all is that when scandals arise, they are right at the heart of it.
All right, that's the Star, fresh, independent, different. Today, being a Tuesday, the Star is not for sale. So hata kama umeandika pesa hapo, you can grab a copy free of charge.
All right.
People Daily. Kalonzo Musyoka's bold strategy for 2027. This story has been captured on page 4. And just to take a look at it, what this newspaper is saying about that particular story.
Right.
Tukingoja tu ifunguke kidogo tu.
But we all know just how much Kalonzo has been on the forefront when we're talking about politics. And it's actually not about him. It's basically what many are saying, that even in that quarter of the united opposition, he is considered as the best option for them all. Of course, safe for the new faces like Matiang'i that then come in to disrupt the situation. But what has it that he has, made sure that he has set up a strategy to ensure that the rest of the team then can come in to back him as they seek to oust President William Ruto. What are the details? You have it?
Right. It's the Kalonzo Musyoka's late-night presidential candidature declaration in Machakos crashed into Kenya's political waters like a heavy stone. And they say for years he has been accused of caution of waiting too long for the right moment. But this time he spoke with fire. His voice was sharp, his posture energetic, his words dripping with confidence. This is just an analysis by this newspaper. Unifying factor, they ask. The story, once again, has been captured on page 4. It's so interesting. You can take a look at it. Why Winnie Odinga is a leading voice of Kenya's political future. Yesterday, the Taifa Leo also captured Winnie Odinga. Mtoto wa Simba ni Simba. So basically, Winnie Odinga is still hitting headlines after, of course, the death of former Prime Minister Raila Odinga. Wanasema she's fighting for the rights of the common mwananchi, just like some would say, like Raila Odinga did. So why
I think she has the charisma, as many would argue, even in her utterances.
They say aura.
Aura. You would want to say it. Perhaps that's the reason why they say that she comes across as that one person that will be instrumental in the politics of this nation in the near future.
That story is on page 3. And finally, Business Daily.
All right, KTDA factory loans rises to 26 billion on borrowing spree. That is a story that takes the headline. And of course, borrowing is there, unfortunately, but then it goes to these critical entities and therefore raising questions as to what really needs to be done to ensure that we have some elements of regulation, because then it infringes on the growth of these entities. That's the biggest story that is captured right there. And court faults Attorney General for HR power grab in parastatal. Interesting piece right there, where the High Court has issued a landmark judgment curtailing the powers of the Attorney General, that is, and the State Corporations Advisory Committee in human resource matters affecting state corporations and public universities. It will be interesting to see how this will be received. On the other side, a bill seeks to tighten controls over online sale of pesticides. Digital marketplaces will now have to police pesticide sales if new bill before the National Assembly is passed. That is a story that is captured on page 4 of the Business Daily story. And of course, you'd probably want to get to understand what the bill is. You get into the details of it. The government is considering to setting up the National Infrastructure Fund without a law of backup. And of course, more details of that you get on this.
All right. That's as far as the local dailies are concerned once again.
The state of the nation, the conversation about Nairobi, the conversation about the politics of Nyanza, the conversation about Kalonzo Musyoka, the conversation about Winnie Odinga happening shortly, and basically also what is happening in terms of current affairs in the nation. James Gakuya, Member of Parliament, Embakasi North, Harrison Kinyanjuri, the advocate of the High Court, and also another advocate of the High Court, Joshua Nyamuri, will be the gentleman that will help us steer this conversation.
All right, tuangalie cartoonist wanasema nini this morning. This is the Standard. Eighth wonder of the world.
Ninth wonder of the world. I think this is a story that was captured extensively yesterday by the Standard, perhaps one that has raised concern as to, you know, a developer, local developer, you know, coming on board and setting up a structure around these areas that we are used to witnessing. The eighth wonder of the world, that is the wildebeest. Of course, migration around the Masai Mara area, something that has raised concern and perhaps sent some people to court to see to it whether they can block the same.
Right. They say state regulators holding on to some bag there, good money.
Good money to them.
Right. This is Daily Nation. Matters Ukraine, Kenyans at the center of it, and Russia, or Ukraine and Russia, of course. Tunasema Kenyans are being lured unknowingly against their will to fight the war in Ukraine. Lakini Ukraine inawaka moto kule, Russian agent is here, tumbo imejaa sana.
Now Kenya ndio wao wanaona pesa hapo, kwa hiyo mtu anasema this is the money, this is the bag, securing the bag, only to realize that you land yourself kwa moto.
Kuna hook wanatumia, you know, they say when you use that hook, now for Kenyans, when you give them money, then they're going to take it.
Nduano, eh?
Yeah, wanaingia tu.
All right. Unfortunately, this is what is happening.
That's Tana's take. This is Daily Nation. That is People Daily.
Right.
Daily Nation.
Okay. Tanzania date 9 protest. I think Mama Suluhu seated there pretty much asking Jumuiya ya Afrika Mashariki ingelisema nini au ingelifanya nini, and also the same question that one of the papers has asked, je, ingelikuwa Mwalimu Nyerere angelifanya nini tofauti? Tanzania is not in the best of shape, but unfortunately thus is the price of democracy.
All right. And of course we see President William Ruto
as well as Museveni.
Finally, this is the Star. There's the world caricatured here, the globe. This looks like Meta that is Samia Suluhu is holding. So you come, this is the internet thing, but this looks like that Meta logo, the Facebook logo.
But also, you know, it's interesting with caricatures, it's just how you say it. And sometimes, you know, that sort of like twist on whatever it is that she's holding is pretty much the same as what some were saying, that Tanzania iko sawa bila msaada na vitu vingine kama hivyo. Now when you're staring at the globe, perhaps just to tell them, you know what, we can actually lock you out and we can manage it ourselves, whether it's on the question of internet, whether it's a question of, you know, resources and managing the country in our own self. I think it's just them saying, tumewafungia nje. Let's see whether we're going to die or we survive as Tanzanians.
All right. Interact with us on our socials, of course. TV47 Kenya on Facebook and on YouTube, on X at TV47 digital.
Right.
My handle on X is at @Ann_Dida. The hashtag is Morning Cafe TV47.
And of course at Linda_Alela.
All right, we can already see some of your feedback on Facebook. This Nduiwa Kokuro is watching and Sama, good morning. I'm watching from Kokuro. Thank you so much. Charity Njeri, good morning from Maua Town. Anasema in, thank you so much. Elijah Apex Apareng, Morning Cafe, good morning, and good morning to you, Elijah. And finally, Lameki Bakari Anasema watching live from Karen, Nairobi. Do stay with us, and we'll see you after the break.
All right.
No more excuses. It's time to rise, grind, and own your mornings. Join Coach Shadrach Omer every Monday to Friday from 5:30 to 6 a.m. only on TV47. Full body workouts, zero equipment, maximum results. Start strong, stay strong. TV47 Fitness with Coach Shadrach only on TV47. Looking for the perfect way to kick off your weekend?
Pole. Hiyo ni salamu ya Mluya kabisa.
Tune in to Friday with Betty, the most exciting show on TV.
Betty, one tear gun. Betty, I don't know where this guy's going.
Walikutoka.
From the latest news and trends to unforgettable moments.
Hiyo nao nakubali.
Wewe ni simpa.
Friday with Betty is your go-to show for a fabulous Friday night.
Theological, meteorologist. What is that word, Willis?
Tune in this and every Friday at 9 p.m. and let's make your Fridays unforgettable. Only on TV47. Enjoy uninterrupted live streaming of your favorite programs on TV47 and Radio 47 on the go with our new mobile-friendly website. Experience the future of broadcasting. Visit www.tv47.digital or scan this QR code and stream your way to endless news and entertainment. Welcome to the home of untold stories.
This is Kenya's #1 talk show, Dr. Foreke tonight. My name is the Eagle himself. Dr. Foreke is my name.
We are flipping the script, but guess what? Or should I say, guess who is taking over tonight's show?
Ani wewe furahia umekaa na kasukuni.
CP unit ni Punet. So you guys knew about Piga. Sawa basi. Nasema hata ungehivi the whole time.
I don't want to go back to brokenness.
Never.
I just love the high life. Siwezi taka kuimagine ati nimesota.
You'll have to watch to find out. Tune in every Wednesday from 7:30 p.m.
Next time you need fresh lemon juice, microwave a lemon for 7 to 10 seconds. Then roll the lemon back and forth under your palm on the counter. When you squeeze, you'll get more juice from the lemon with way less effort.
your day with Relationship Wednesday from 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. with Ann Odida. Dive deep into the dynamics of love, friendship, and family as we explore the stories that shape our connections. Then, satisfy your appetite with Tasty Wednesday from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m., where Anne serves up delicious recipes, cooking tips, and the latest food trends to inspire your next meal. Relationship Wednesday and Tasty Wednesday, every Wednesday, 8 a.m. to 10 a.m., only on Morning Cafe.
Your nose alone won't always tell you if your eggs have gone bad. To find out, gently place uncooked eggs in a bowl of cold water. If an egg sinks to the bottom, it's A-OK. If it floats, it's seen better days.
No more excuses. It's time to rise, grind, and own your mornings. Join Coach Shadrach Omer every Monday to Friday from 5:30 to 6 a.m. only on TV 47. Full body workouts, zero equipment, maximum results. Start strong, stay strong. TV 47 Fitness with Coach Shadrach, only on TV 47. Looking for the perfect way to kick off your weekend?
Pole. Hiyo ni salamu ya Mluya kabisa.
Tune in to Friday with Betty, the most exciting show on TV.
Betty, one tear guy. Betty, I don't know where this guy's going.
From the latest news and trends to unforgettable moments.
Mimi ni simpa. Hiyo naona nakubali.
Wewe ni simpa.
Friday with Betty is your go-to show for a fabulous Friday night.
Theological, meteorologist. What is that word, Willis?
Tune in this and every Friday at 9 p.m. and let's make your Fridays unforgettable. Only on TV 47. Enjoy uninterrupted live streaming of your favorite programs on TV 47 and Radio 47 on the go with our new mobile-friendly website. Experience the future of broadcasting. Visit www.tv47.digital or scan this QR code and stream your way to endless news and entertainment. Welcome to the home of untold stories.
This is Kenya's #1 talk show, Dr. Frederick. My name is the Eagle himself. Dr. Frederick is my name.
We are flipping the script, but guess what? Or should I say, guess who is taking over tonight's show?
Yaani wewe furahia umekaa na kasipuni.
CP unit ni Punet. Ni Punet. Punet. So you guys knew about Piga. Sawa basi. Nasema Zlatan gave it the whole time.
I don't want to go back to brokenness.
Never.
I just love the high life. Siwezi taka kuimagine ati nimesota.
You have to watch to find out. Tune in every Wednesday from 7:30 p.m.
Next time you need fresh lemon juice, microwave a lemon for 7 to 10 seconds. Then roll the lemon back and forth under your palm on the counter. When you squeeze, you'll get more juice from the lemon with way less effort.
Start your day with Relationship Wednesday from 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. with Ann Odida. Dive deep into the dynamics of love, friendship, and family as we explore the stories that shape our connections. Then satisfy your appetite with Tasty Wednesday from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. where Anne serves up delicious recipes, cooking tips, and the latest food trends to inspire your next meal. Relationship Wednesday and Tasty Wednesday every Wednesday 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. only on Morning Cafe.
Your nose alone won't always tell you if your eggs have gone bad. To find out, gently place uncooked eggs in a bowl of cold water. If an egg sinks to the bottom, it's A-OK. If it floats, it's seen better days.
No more excuses. It's time to rise, grind, and own your mornings. Join Coach Shadrach Omer every Monday to Friday from 5:30 to 6 a.m. only on TV 47. Full body workouts, zero equipment, maximum results. Start strong, stay strong. TV 47 Fitness with Coach Shadrach only on TV 47. Looking for the perfect way to kick off your weekend?
Pole. Hiyo ni salamu ya Mluya kabisa.
Tune in to Friday with Betty, the most exciting show on TV.
Betty, one tear gas. Betty, I don't know where this guy's going.
Walikutoka.
From the latest news and trends to unforgettable moments.
Mimi simpa. Hiyo naona nakubali.
Wewe ni simpa.
Friday with Betty is your go-to show for a fabulous Friday night.
Theological, meteorologist. What is that word, Willis?
Tune in this and every Friday at 9 p.m. and let's make your Fridays unforgettable. Only on TV 47. Enjoy uninterrupted live streaming of your favorite programs on TV 47 and Radio 47 on the go with our new mobile-friendly website. Experience the future of broadcasting. Visit www.tv47.digital or scan this QR code and stream your way to endless news and entertainment. Welcome to the home of untold stories.
IEBC chairperson Erastus Ethekon has come out strongly declaring that stealing an election in Kenya is an impossibility, citing robust systems, technology and security measures that safeguard the integrity of the electoral process.
To steal election in this country is an impossibility. These returning officers here can confirm to you, even observers, honest observers will tell you, the media that witnessed these by-elections, it's impossible.
IEBC says that the recent by-elections offered a clear glimpse into the Commission's preparedness to hold the 2027 election, highlighting factors such as election materials delivered on time, voter education reaching even the most remote areas, and the KIMS kit enabling seamless voter identification and transmission of results.
While each election presented unique circumstances, collectively they offered a comprehensive picture of IEBC's operational preparedness.
The Commission added that the technology deployed worked at 99% efficiency, ensuring transparency and verifiability through the IEBC results portal. The IEBC chair condemned incidents of assault, vandalism at polling stations, and interference by organized groups, including individuals posing as super agents. Ethekon also stated that voter apathy was a big challenge in the by-elections and continues to be a challenge in Kenya's elections.
So voter apathy is a big problem, and it did not start with these by-elections. Those of you who have been in this field long enough know.
The IEBC chairperson acknowledged the critical role played by security agencies, saying that without security, there will not have been elections held in some areas. The Inspector General of Police, Douglas Kanja, echoed this, warning against the use of goons in electoral environments. He also urged the youth to resist being manipulated to cause chaos.
The issues of goons and other political thuggery, this is something that we are not going to allow.
They don't have any labels. For us, we deal goons as goons.
IEBC Chair Ethekon has reaffirmed that the new electoral body is committed to ensure Kenya's democracy is upheld and promoted.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. And the two wakilis on set, Harrison Kinyanjui, Advocate of the High Court, as well as Joshua Nyamori, Advocate of the High Court. And we also have Member of Parliament, Embakasi North, Honorable James Gakuya, for this conversation this morning. As we get to look at what is happening, most of the times when we're talking about the state of the nation, we look at the politics. It is the bloodline of course, all activities. And therefore, when you talk current affairs and politics, must always be mentioned. We get to this conversation by picking up on that very story done by Stanley Nyaringita. Gentlemen, I come to you. Perhaps I will begin with you, Honorable Gakuya. I see some of the members of parliament, or perhaps politicians that are aligned to the area that you sit in, are saying that they were 101% sure that Mbeere North was theirs to take, saying that they were 100% sure that Malava was for the united opposition to take, and many other quarters. Unfortunately, this is not what happened. Not to say that the by-elections had some bit of, concerns in terms of course, credibility, but basically looking at what it is that the IEBC says, that they guarantee the nation that no election or no vote will be stolen come 2027. What do you read out of that, just looking at the concluded or just concluded by-elections?
Oh, thank you very much. Allow me to salute viewers wherever they are watching this morning show. Coming to the matter, preparation of IEBC in regards to the general election coming in the 2027. I would say that the by-elections that took place in the last 2 weeks was a litmus test to IEBC as a commission. Noting that they were all appointed as new commissioners, but that does not mean that they applied for a job that they were not aware of. They went and they passed through a process of vetting, and therefore we believe that the commission that we have today, we have a commission which is formidable, and that can give Kenya the purposed results. But as per the irregularities noted in the last concluded by election, is a big test that IEBC, either they don't have teeth to bite, or else they are powerless in one way or the other. Because in yesterday's conceding that that in Mbele, they concur that there were irregularities. They concur that the minister stormed into a polling station and forced the whole hostage of a particular station without any single action that they took at that particular moment. Anything that went through that particular hostage, nobody knows. We cannot know whether, even though the chair was trying to say nobody could be able to start votes, then what was the purpose of the storm? And what was the purpose of taking hostage a particular station for that long? And who is that who has such kind of powers to intervene or interfere with elections when the elections are ongoing? That means, in one way, the IEBC are powerless and toothless, because the returning officer had powers to ask the security in charge to throw out that minister, because he is nobody as much as a regiment of an election are concerned. Because we must not have people who are calling themselves CSs or PSs or government officers who has no duty in a particular exercise enforcing themselves, invading or intruding into a particular process. This is unfair to me. And including that they are conceding that they also agree that there was irregularities of people trying to also induce money to returning officers and cracks. Right. This kind of testimony given by the IEBC yesterday, it was a shock to me that they accept that there were irregularities and they witnessed them. It tells me that those by-elections were sham. Okay. And therefore, they ought to have cancelled. But you see, the same commission at the tail end announced the winners of the election, where they were very sure that the elections were interfered. Okay. That, to me, it is wrong. The electoral commission should have power to cancel such an election at a stage where they feel it is interfered, because we need a process which is free, fair, and verifiable. Okay. And when it is not verifiable, then it is questionable, and therefore there should be no winner of such a race. And what we are saying, there will be a process of petition, because the petition will move to court. All right. But somebody will be enjoying salary, and he was elected illegally. Well, hold it. A violated exercise. Hold it, Mushimiwa. And I'm glad that we have legal minds on set. Senator Matthew goes ahead to say, we are extremely disappointed that players in an election can take over a polling station, and you, IEBC, go ahead and announce the winner in that polling station. Well, of course, they say they assumed that, they were sure that theirs was to win the Mbeere North by-election, but unfortunately that is not what happened, sarcastically to mean that there was a sham, there were irregularities that could have informed a certain person declared the winner, yet they were not the winner.
Wakili Nyamori, we had him on set the other time while we were talking about this, and you know, even before the declaration, he was very confident that you know, the ruling coalition, or better yet, the broad-based government, you know, was going to enjoy or to carry the day, which is basically what happened. Before I come to you, Wakili, for your view on what it is that Mheshimiwa says, Wakili Harrison, it is interesting to watch when we have this decry that comes from the united opposition and a confirmation that they're going to hit the courts, you know, petitioning some of the activities that played out during the by-elections. What is likely to happen, and listening to what IEBC is talking about and the assurance that they're giving Kenyans?
Thank you very much. I'd say a good morning to your very good viewers. To me, it's going to be an aggravated, escalated, and more worse scenario than we have witnessed.
Right.
It's an accentuation of what we have seen. It's gonna get worse.
Right.
I'll say to the Kenyan average person, brace yourself, because this was supposed to be the inaugural, experience, the incepting of the new commissioners, as it were.
Right.
There was no new IEBC, so let's just be frank. Let's be clear. There's a secretariat that's supposed to be having the continuum of the IEBC, but the commissioners change, but that does not change the law or the structure. The tragedy of it all is that we have in our country the political edifice and the paradigm that has been enacted in the Constitution as democracy. Not autocracy, not dictatorship, democracy. For democracy to thrive as we know it, you must have credible elections. You must have fairness in those elections. And beyond the fairness, the IEBC, the arbiter of the electoral process, must be seen, beyond being, it must be seen by the average person who probably may not be interested in the voting process, but will be affected by the outcome of that voting process, that there is fairness, there is the objectivity, and in fact that the IEBC is executing its constitutional and statutory mandate. In this case, it was supposed to ensure that there was no violence that was recorded within the electoral zones that were then subjected to the by-elections. It did not, because it was supposed to halt the election if any of that violence was witnessed and indeed reported. What that yields is voter apathy. And the voters say that, look, it makes absolutely no difference if I vote or I don't.
Okay.
Because the IEBC, in the mind of this voter, is an extension of the executive. What the opposition had actually managed to or succeeded in convincing the person who was probably in those by-elections, let me use Mbere and Malava, was that they were going to take, in a free and fair election, those by-election seats. Did they? They didn't. But those were the areas where we witnessed these very abhorrent incidents of breaches of the law, which the IEBC, when you listen to even the representatives speaking and saying that, oh, you know, we had this incident, but and we watched Mr. Ethicon saying that it is impossible to steal an election. Come on, we heard that there were those who were busy taking images of the vote that they were casting, and they were then getting bribed by officers of the state. Is he deaf to those lamentations? Was he blind to what, in fact, was broadcast for all and sundry, the whole world to see, that there were acts of violence, there were acts of breaches of secrecy? This is supposed to be a secret ballot election,
right?
So that then you yield a democratic outcome. Now, when you cast aspersions on that electoral process, the end result is that you have a tainted, quote unquote, political class. And unfortunately, these are the sort of people who show up in the National Assembly, and they are out there probably looking at, stuff on their cell phones. And we saw that happening.
Okay.
What are we saying? That process that the IEBC is overseeing, we will yield so-called political leaders that are neither representative of the people, and therefore a sabotage of democracy, nor articulating the aspirations of the people they purport to represent, which again is a sabotage of the aspirations of the Kenyan people. Lastly, can we have the IEBC conduct 2027 elections, nationally in this instance, not just this, with this cloud hanging, very heavy of so-called goons? And we saw the Inspector General of Police saying that, these goons and lamentations, come on. We're not supposed to be seeing you talking there. We're supposed to be having court cases and seeing the actual, people arrested that were perpetrators or that were, aiding and abetting that, but we're not seeing it. So it is one thing to there and hold a conference, expend more taxpayers' money. Show me the results.
Well, Wakili, fair enough. And I'm glad that you begin by highlighting that this is not new, that perhaps is something that is so common in the country. Padmo is watching and says rigging doesn't happen only on the polling station, but outside the polling station by bribing and coercing. That's the biggest rigging. And Lusigi Justice goes ahead to say, IBC, what are you saying? Perhaps asking what it is that Ethicon is saying in relation to, the assurance to the nation that it is not easy for the elections to be stolen come 2027. It says there is a problem, and of course the current commission perhaps is not formed in the best way. That is the reason why we witnessed what it is that we witnessed. And Samuel Kumola says, the report by IBC yesterday is worrying. Incompetence and taking sides was outright by them. Wakili, we come to you. When you listen to these utterances, do you suppose the petitioners will have a case?
I've always held the view that if you're a public servant in this country, you must know that your decisions by practice now in Kenya will not only end with you, but will go to court.
Right.
And going to court is part of our democratic system. We wait to see the evidence that will be, placed before the judiciary, and let the judiciary make a decision on them. That is part of our decision. But I think until then, we will be speculating on whether they will succeed or not, and I think it will be unfair to the justice system to do that. But then we can look at what the IEBC chair talked about yesterday. And in my view, one strong statement that came from the IEBC that I would want us to then interrogate is the statement that it is an impossibility to rig elections in this country. And that means that the chair of the IEBC was reaffirming the technical integrity of the system that we have put in place, especially through the voter registrar, the KIMS kit, and so on and so forth. But then, even as we do that, we know that there's a lot of noise around IEBC, and at the end of the day, most of our seats, especially the battlegrounds that you are talking about, Malava and Bere, there had to be a winner and a loser, and it was a very close election. So you had politicians, poisoning the environment even before the election day, so that you would hear a politician talk about, that people were being transported, that there are voters, 10,000 voters being transported into a constituency. How can that be with our, the technical system that has been put in place?
Right.
In my view, a lot of that propaganda that was spread, especially by the opposition, collapsed on the election day. a lot of, the chest thumping collapsed. It is my view that the problem in our electoral system is not with the IEBC, but it's an ethical issue amongst us as Kenyans. And it's an issue that discussion we may need to undertake away from the polling centers and away from the IEBC headquarters. That we need to, as a society, come to the point where we accept that there will be a winner and a loser, and that we mobilize our people to accept the results. And that until that day when we will have achieved that, there will always be, a lot of noise.
Right.
Okay? And then there have been accusations of interferences. We need to have, politicians improving their behavior. And as I keep saying, it really does not matter how many, people are taken to court. Unless we change our behavior, the behaviors will still continue and repeat themselves, because the problems of politicians walking around with gangs, you see, when you call them goons, then probably you sanitize it. They're basically gangs, and it is politicians in all political parties, so that we are no longer having rallies. We are no longer having political meetings. What we have is politicians spending money to recruit. And this, for me, is a manifestation of a problem we created in this country, and that is that we commercialized our politics. So that it is not political leaders who want to bring change, who then run for elections, but people who either want to use political offices to accumulate wealth, or who have accumulated wealth through undeserving means and want to use political offices to change. So unless we get involved in that bigger discussion, there is no way we are going to change it, because anybody who sees the political office not as a platform to change the livelihoods of the people, but as a means to control, are they controlling 500 million shillings or over within 5 years, and manipulate it for his own benefit and the benefits of his cabal, will never allow the processes to be held without trying to interfere with it.
And of course, for a long time, we have been labeled a country of litigants, and therefore they always say that it will be very difficult, no matter how much IEBC tries its best. Many a times you will find people going to court, many countering that. And Mheshimiwa, I know even your own position has been contested in court, of course, upon declaration that you are the winner. But then again, as always, politicians will be politicians when it doesn't favor them. Of course, they will complain. When it favors them, maybe you don't get to see complaints. I want us to rest that and trust IEBC to deliver come 2027, even as we watch.
Before you move out of the stage, let us all agree in one thing. As much as we want to blame Kenyans, and we also to transfer the blame to the politicians, the institution itself, is the commission, has a duty to give Kenyans a well-prepared election without irregularities. And let me tell you, irregularities were deliberately created to put a wave of a win of a particular. Let me tell you, irregularity does not mean it is only a failure to acquire the ratios of numbers of votes. But creating violence is part of rigging, because you want to scare people to move out of the polling station. You use a massive police so that they can also create fear, and use other mechanisms, including civilian police in big number for no reasons. These are all ways of trying to rig an election. Remember, there were also a side kit where early that morning, Kim's kits and materials were taken away from a particular station. This we want also to prove that we never denied those people from that point voting. It is wrong. We need to have at least accredited election where that we have a mark and where we all agree, yes, we agree that there is a winner and a loser, where a process was a fair process.
Okay.
But where a process was a mocked, a sham, we cannot tell us that the end point was only the importance of the result.
Okay.
That wasn't. But the process was so important so that whoever will score zero on a creditable way. Okay. Whoever will score plus with a credited way. But the type of election that my Wakili want to tell us is what Kenyans is wishing for. It's a dead desire. And that is what the country desires to go. We are heading to a general election. And if this kind of preparation that we are heading to, it is a chaos that we are preparing ahead. And I want to be very clear here. The government is a government of the people. And the government should make sure that all nuts are well tightened to make sure that the loopholes are closed. Failure to that, you cannot prepare an election so that you realize when we are watching, it is wrong.
But they have a vested interest. Okay. They want a weak IEBC. They want a dysfunctional IEBC. They want puppets in the IEBC.
The IEBC chair, Wakili, acknowledges that politicians tried to influence the polls, but they say they could not be bent, they could not be...
But why didn't they expose those politicians so that we know them, we identify them, and we know this is a culprit, this is the person that we're dealing with? But they are there silencing some politicians. Excuse me, they have failed to that extent. They should just resign. If some politician tried to influence you as a commissioner, you should come out and say that so-and-so did it.
Wakili, let's be realistic. An IEBC that we have, a commissioner set or body that we have really, looked forward to and strived so hard and used the taxpayers' resources to set up, and finally they're here. You can imagine if they are to resign today, what would it be?
They are not doing us a favor. Okay. They are not doing us a favor. If you're taking up that job, number one, you should know what you are. Absolutely. Number one. Number two, you must then give precedence to the values in Article 10 of the Constitution. You must be patriotic. And you must be selfless. You must be the sovereign leader, not someone to go out there and make money. I mean, these are people...
On an individual basis, you think they have not done that?
No, I just think they don't have the mettle, in my humble view. Because by saying that some politician had tried to influence me, and then I don't come out and say that this was a politician that it did, it shows, it demonstrates in open light that this is someone who's near a wimp. I'm not saying they are a wimp, near a wimp. Because if you come boldly come and say, hey, I'm warning you, don't you even come try get close to me, because I will expose you, because you are trying to sabotage this process. They don't say it. They are probably receiving telephone calls from the executive or from they who peddle influence in this country. So I agree with what Mr. Muir is saying. My professional colleagues saying that, we should blame Kenyans. Kenyans are tired of being blamed by the political class, by everybody else, when systems fail. Because we have regulations, we have laws that govern the conduct of elections. Now the body, the arbiter, the referee that's supposed to be enforcing those laws, don't enforce the law. What are Kenyans supposed to do?
This is the ideal. What Wakili says is the ideal, but in the kind of political state that we are in, just how realistic?
Have we accepted? Have we accepted?
Actually, we have a checkered history with our electoral body. Remember from the Electoral Commission days. And you see, we can't be a nation that every time we identify a problem with the process, our only, way out is to throw out the referee, even when the referee is not the cause of the problem.
Right.
Okay? And we can't be throwing out referees after every election. We need to stabilize the system. Okay, and then clearly the problem is not with the referee. The IEBC, the chairman did not say that his commission or the officials failed. He said that certain politicians tried to influence the process. He said there were problems of attempted bribery.
Politicians without names?
You know, it is important that we listen to
You're protected.
Because if you want to call out a problem, you must call it out.
Honorable Gakuya, this is not a political rally. So that, you know, politicians know themselves. And you see, when you interpret that, you know, certain politicians try to interfere with the process, and then we interpret it to be that the government tried to interfere with the process, it's clearly wrong. What then I'm now expecting is that IEBC has given out their report. Right. I expect the, you know, the investigative bodies to pursue each and every issue that has been raised. If there were people who are found to be culpable, they should be taken to court and punished, okay? If there are Kenyans who have evidence that there was an electoral official or there was a politician who was involved, then this matter should be taken through the investigative processes and taken to court. But we can't just be shouting at the electoral body. We need to give confidence to the system.
Okay.
That is a point I'm trying to drive.
And I want us to rest that.
But as we conclude,
yes, we have got to rest that one.
You revived.
Make it 30 seconds.
Revived it for the first time.
30 seconds.
As we conclude,
yes,
let us all agree as Kenyans that the Commission has a duty to call out the irregularities. Because for sure, you want to see people, call them the politicians. That's a blanket. You don't know who are they. You have not taken them anywhere. As a commission, what is your duty? Your duty is to make sure that you have already taken the data of irregularities and taken them where it deserves.
All right, fair enough. We can only wait to see how the commission then operates moving forward. Gentlemen, I want us to shift gears a bit, but it's just more or less on the same matter. Look at the Standard newspaper, the front page, page 4 and 5 as well, to guide the next discourse. And it would be largely about something that, you know, we heard about, and some Kenyans raised concern as to the same. But of course, not much happened at that particular time. But slowly by slowly, we are getting to a worrying space, you know. And they talk about the ID scandal, where there's been an arrest of 26 suspects in a fast-growing citizenship for sale racket. And of course, has added fresh urgency to concerns that President Ruto's decision to scrap security vetting for ID applicants in northern Kenya and other border counties has opened a dangerous loophole. The critics who warned the decree would be exploited now feel vindicated as racketeers, rogue clerks and middlemen collude to dish out Kenyan nationality at a fee. Investigators say Northeastern has emerged as one of the biggest beneficiaries of the fraud, with criminal networks exploiting the relaxed rules to slip foreigners through the system and undermine national security. I read that so that it can set the pace for this conversation. Wakili Nyamuri, trouble in the making?
I think we have two issues to deal with here. One is to deal with the issue with the integrity of the process of issuing identity cards.
Right.
But two is the right of every Kenyan, irrespective of religion, irrespective of the skin, irrespective of the tribe or ethnicity, to acquire and benefit from the processes of having an ID.
Right.
You know, the problem is not only in northern Kenya. There is a massive mobilization of, you know, community-led mobilization of people to take IDs in Nyanza. And I almost shed tears when I saw a 79-year-old woman in Nyatike. And Nyatike is a border constituency, who had never taken an ID. So it means she has lived through her life without benefiting from the opportunities that a national ID can provide, okay? That same story is in Garissa. The same story will be found amongst the minority community living in Nairobi. So one, we must assure them that we will not second guess their right to acquire IDs, and that we will not subject them to processes that are worse than what the rest of us go through. Okay, I got a national ID in Form 4 through mass registration in schools. It should happen everywhere. Second thing is that we need to build the system to be strong enough so that it is not abused, okay? Because there will always be somebody trying to beat the system, okay? So that should be the second issue, and it's critical for national security, but it's also critical to ensure that only citizens benefit from the system. What I am against is the blanket move that we should subject the citizens of northern Kenya, what was then called the northern frontier, to discrimination that they have faced over the years.
Right.
And you see, when the president went to Northeastern and declared that they will not be subjected to processes that are worse than the processes that the rest of Kenyans go through, what he was just doing is to affirm citizenship.
How can you not read politics in this? And perhaps I come to Wakili. Because then this is the statement that he makes. Nasikia wananitishia na mambo ya one term. Mimi nimekuwa mjumbe miaka 15, nimekuwa naibu rais na nimekuwa rais. Watanishinda aje? Leo nimesema hiyo vetting imekwisha. Hakuna kuendelea kuonea watu wengine. Hii ubaguzi imedumu miaka 60, tulisema tutatoa. Hii itawapelekea ndugu zetu katika mikoa hii kujisikia sawa na wengine Kenya nzima. When you read this statement,
the president is a politician.
Yes.
The president is a politician.
Okay.
You see, we will be pretending anytime we want to discuss the president and not assume that he's a politician.
Okay.
And he made certain. You're going to respond. You're going to respond. He made certain commitments to the people of the northeastern part of the country when he was campaigning, that I will revoke this requirement that you have to go through a process that other Kenyans don't go through. If there is a security process that is necessary for acquisition of IDs, I need to go through it. Wakili Kinyanjui needs to go through it. But we cannot subject a Somali Kenyan to a process that we do not go through.
But don't you think then it befits the president to ensure that even as he relaxes these regulations, that he ensures that there is strict adherence?
So what we should be talking about, is not that the president has said that they will not go through, a security process.
Okay.
What we should be asking is that, are we all going through a proper security process?
And
if we think what is happening in Northeastern is necessary,
right?
It should happen in my village of Nyamware.
That is true.
It should happen. I'm not sure where Wakili Kinyanjui come from, but if he comes from Kiambu, it should happen in Kiambu, so that each and every Kenyan must go through the same process. But we cannot subject other Kenyans to different processes.
Let me allow Wakili come in. Would it have been better then for them to look into the security concerns that would come to out of this, and perhaps make sure that they tighten corners where there could be integrity issues before the issuance of this declaration, and that then, well, of course, it would be rightful for all Kenyans to get their IDs without having to struggle, which is a democratic right. And just ensure that it's a correct process, because when it comes to this level, and at that particular time, critics actually came out to question this. Would it not have been proper for the government to have made sure that they seal all the loopholes before this declaration, and that then it becomes a smooth process? Because when you see these concerns, and they're talking about 1 million is the fee that is being paid, or price, for Somalis and other foreigners are paying to acquire Kenyan citizen documents such as IDs, passports, and birth certificates. It's lucrative, I see.
It was an act of political desperation for someone whose arithmetic cannot add up for him in terms of a 2027 presidential election. So he needed that. And by what fiat would he have, would he possess, in law or otherwise, as a president, to change the demands of the law in terms of the Registration of Persons Act. If you read Section 8, subsection 1 of that act, the Registration of Persons Act, Cap 107, it demands of everybody. The registering officer is supposed to ask you, please, I need to verify A, B, and C, and D about you. There's nothing exceptional there. So then he comes and says that that law should not apply. Is he Parliament?
It should have been done in Parliament.
Excuse me. Okay. He cannot have the power to issue a presidential proclamation for the suspension, acquisition of IDs by a class of people. Article 95, sub-article 4 of the Constitution clearly says the power to make laws is vested in Parliament. No one has the power to issue a declaration, an utterance, or do anything that has a force of the law without taking it to Parliament. So we have a dictatorship that is so desperate to cling on to power, and they do not see the prospects of a fair and a just election if everything is allowed to go within the province of the law. And so you find these sort of justifications coming from a learned friend in a manner which you get to wonder. I mean, don't we have a reference to the law where if anybody is discriminated against in terms of registration, they can always then fall back to the protection of the law. That's what Article 27(1) of the Constitution tells you, that if you do get discriminated in terms of Article 27(4) of the Constitution, then invoke the process of the law. Right. But now we are seeing, as indeed you have rightly pointed out, that there is a scandal. Now, what does this speak of those processes of registering people where someone is forking out money in order to, quote unquote, acquire Kenyan citizenship? The acquisition of citizenship is governed by law. So what is so difficult about them following the law? But let me say this. There were those utterances by some politicians, I'm not going to name them, but they were applauding him, and some actually quoted in that newspaper article saying that, for the first time they feel like Kenyans, and because he has opened this gate and everybody can, have this cross-border sort of registration. So we have then to ask ourselves, what is the end game in this? It is for him. And my lot of friends say that, the president is a politician. He's supposed to shed off his political garb the moment he sits there as a president and leads the country for those who voted for him, for those who did not vote for him. And so the Registration of Persons Act applies to everyone across the board. And so we shouldn't make someone feel that, there was some failure in the processes when there's a demand. I need you to identify yourself. I need you to inform me exactly the background that, accord you the citizenship that you're claiming.
Wakili, we must admit as well that indeed there have been concerns when it comes to Kenyans acquiring some of this basic documentation, which is critical, including the IDs. Perhaps even as we loop in, I know you want to say something, Wakili, but first of all, let me loop in Honorable Gakuya. I'm sure you have some of your constituents that have had difficulties to actually get their IDs and all that. And what Wakili says is valid, that indeed the process should be as straight as that, validate who you are and all that, so that then you are, guaranteed of an ID. But when you look at it...
Allow me to finish one point before then he takes over, that I was just about to make. Section 6 of the Registration of Persons Act makes it mandatory the moment that you attain the age of the age of the majority, which is actually prescribed as 18 years old. You are supposed by law to be registered. So that places an obligation and the burden in terms of the law on the state, on the government, to ensure that he who or she who attains that age, there is a mechanism to register them. And so the lamentation that he was making is what I'm affirming, that actually the state has failed to provide the offices And when you hear an edict being made at State House, oh, you know, I've made a decree, there's a proclamation that I'm directing 470 stations be open all over. That's not his job.
Okay.
That's not his job. So I'm saying the state ought to have this continuous registration of persons. But when it is funneled towards an election, then you see the political dimension to it.
And we ask the members of parliament here, number one, Gekuye, to respond as a member of parliament. Why do you allow for the president to make such declarations and they carry the day? Second of all, speaking as a politician, was it the right direction to take? Because I remember recently there's been concerns in your constituency in Bakassi North where, you know, the IEBC suspended a voter registration process. And of course there were, you know, hues and cries left, right and center as to why this happened. And the many people or the many Kenyans that continue to decry of the fact that they find difficulties when they're trying to access this critical documentation. What would you make of this and now this declaration that it is a scandal in the making? It's actually a scandal that is on.
Oh, thank you. Let me say on the onset that the laws of the land are crafted to lead the nation. And I have repeated in this particular forum that nobody is above the law, including the head of state. Head of state takes oath on office, which he swears in to protect the Constitution, the people and their property. I have no problem with registration of Kenyans who are real Kenyans. But the problem and the reason why there was a mandatory vetting of outsiders is because this country was under serious security threat. And even today, we are not exception from that particular threat. What we are doing is we are widening the gap and opening the doors to our enemies every day. Today, it is very serious that the head of state can just wake up and order military from the barrack to come out to deal with the agencies without an authority or approval of the House. It is wrong because it is mandatory that no single military can walk from the barrack without an approval of the House. That is how the law is. But you found that a minister, through instruction from the head of state, can call out the military to attack or to come to defense of agencies on the streets. This is wrong. And we are saying, we cannot come here to say to sanitize the wrongs, because if two wrongs can't make right, and we must criticize where the wrongs is. And head of state did it deliberate because he is a seeker of a reaction. And the whole process is done on this kind of haphazard situation without an order so that he can secure numbers. He must be told that registering Somalis who are migrators of peace to this country is wrong. Yes, we need to give them camps to stay. When their country is calm, they get back there because they're not Kenyans. And this should be known. Somalia is not even a part or a member of the East African community. They are not. And therefore, they are our biggest security threat. And we have witnesses in Garissa University and Nairobi and many other areas. And this particular threat is not over.
But of course, we cannot declare those ones a Somali-instigated attack, but also acknowledging that we have Kenyan Somalis.
I have no problem with that. I have said I have nothing
as long as
registration of the real Kenyans,
right?
Because we have the real Somalis. But what we are doing today, we are registering the migrators. The reason why it's a business, a black market in history, is because those who are seeking the registration are not Kenyans. And they are not meeting the compliances. And therefore, they have to use the kickbacks so that they can get the registration. It is wrong, and what the president has done is to open up a lot window, which is this taking country wrong.
Why does Parliament allow for that to happen?
Remember my
why does Parliament allow for that to happen? And please, Mheshimiwa, don't tell me that Parliament has been captured, because you're part of it.
I am...
Good question. That's a good question.
Let me tell you. And I would like to be very clear here today. The House is captured.
Hold it.
But you, have you taken to the floor? Have you taken to the floor of the House?
It doesn't matter.
How do you look at the people?
Yes.
Mheshimiwa, how do you look at the people of Embakasi North?
This particular statement was sought by a particular member.
Why don't you resign and tell the people of
the matter was discussed?
I cannot represent you.
And no direction was given. And remember, it is wrong when your speaker is taken to hostage. That speaker cannot give any clear ruling.
But someone...
Why do you continue to sit there? Why do you continue to sit there? You know, a house that is not functional, a house that is not serving the people of Embakasi North, if not Kenya. And we're coming to the gubernatorial beat of Nairobi, which I would want to assume you're interested in. How do you convince the people of Nairobi that after not representing the people of Embakasi North as their member of parliament because the house is captured, then you're coming and guaranteeing them the capability of representing them? Let's allow Wakili Nyamori say something, then we come back to you.
Yeah, Linda, I mean, we need to be honest, okay? We cannot have people who cheered as thousands of Somalis, Kenyan Somalis, were rounded up and called terrorists, and then kept in a cell, a mass cell, at, Kasarani Stadium, and called, terrorists, simply because they didn't have IDs. We cannot have people who cheered that then come and say it is wrong for those Kenyan Somalis to be given identity cards.
And I play the devil's advocate. That is not what Mheshimiwa
and my point
is
this. My point is this, okay? That the law requires verification. And that verification is done all over the country. But it should be the same verification. There is no justification why a Kenyan Somali should go through, a more strict verification than a Luo, than a Kikuyu, okay? Simply because of their tribe, simply because of their skin, simply because of their hair. Okay, that's the point we are saying. I have no problem. I have no problem with the verification. But the point is, the narrative that is being pushed is that the kind of verification that was going on in northern Kenya should continue simply because it is in northern Kenya. I will only accept it. We should only accept it. It's
not about the location.
If it is uniform across the country. If you go to, I think, one of the dailies today, you will see that in my area, that is Nyanza, we are trying to mop up 1.5 million potential voters who are in the villages but have not been able to register as voters simply because they have not had an ID. And that was not because the government did not, that was not because they had no right, but it was because the government, focused the opportunity for registration to other areas and discriminated against
Wakili, what then is the essence of this act that Wakili as well mentions? Because these are things that are enshrined in law. Clearly.
And that act is applied to all of us, and we are okay with it. The problem we have is inserting an additional requirement to the Kenyan of Somali origin, or Kenyans that are living in the border areas that then prevent them. I've talked about a 79-year-old woman in Nyatike who just got registered the other day. It is injustice. We cannot justify that.
Neither can we justify that after easing the pressures around that, then we have scandals.
Definitely. But then, are we saying that we gave northern Kenya an easier process than what I am going through and what Kinyanjui is going through?
Far much more easier. No. You see, this it's reported right there. Some of these, arrested persons had government stamps. It is right there. It says some
that
of
is
them.
An illegality that needs to be dealt with.
Hold on.
We cannot stop a whole process.
Okay, let's allow him
simply because of one incident.
Okay.
This is not an incident. It's a scandal. I mean, you can see it's gone into the proportion of just totally getting out of hand. And they're saying Some of the recovered items included filled and blank national ID application forms, genuine. Fingerprint taking equipment, slabs, rollers, and related instruments, birth and death certificates, passports, official government stamps, and other registration materials. Where do they originate from? From the government. So you see, this is a scheme which is from higher echelons. So you cannot just arrest someone there who is, arrested having in their possession, in their custody, a government stamp, an authentic government stamp. It means that the hemorrhage is not coming from, your junior staff down there. It's coming from some higher up place. Who does the procurement of those birth certificates? Who does the distribution of those stamps, for instance? Someone higher up in the echelons. And you can see now, this is something well orchestrated, planned. It should cause alarm to everyone.
Well,
and you can see the scheme funnels and goes into the 2027 election. Because someone will just flash a genuine ID. If you check through the system, the government system, that is a genuine ID. But it has been, handed over to someone who is not a genuine Kenyan. So the concern is very alarming, because then you will have tainted the democratic process. You will have installed a leader who ought never have been elected by means of that fraudulent means. And so I don't know if Joshua, my learned friend, is what he's endorsing. And tomorrow he will have people, if he wants to be on the electoral, platform, it's someone coming to sabotage him that way. We cannot use government resources that way. And all these officers, should be arraigned in court. And the question is, will there be an audit?
Well, Mheshimiwa, I want you to close on this debate. Why does Parliament allow for this? Why does Parliament keep on, why do they keep on decrying most parliamentarians of capture?
My response is very simple.
Right.
The House is led by what we call traditions. And after every debate, the House takes vote. And the House cannot close because the debate is dropped or the debate is defeated. And therefore, you might have very important matter that requires an approval, but you have no more to do after a particular vote is taken, because the majority takes the cake. And what today I may say is where you have no other business but to at least try to urge the members to support your agenda in the floor of the House. But you cannot force them to cast a vote on your side. So any determination is taken by a vote. And therefore, it may be a very important matter or state matter, but you may find it lost in the floor. But you cannot die because the matter is lost, because there is always tomorrow. And you keep moving on. And therefore, it cannot take me a vote of relinquishing myself from representing Embakasi North, because not everything is lost for Embakasi North.
All right. Well, the reason why I say you are interested in the gubernatorial position of Nairobi is not from the blues, and I stand corrected, is because I look at one of the papers today, should be the Star. Front page speaks of the gubernatorial race and the matrix and the intrigues therein. Your face is there, the face of Anne Gakure, the face, is it Agnes or Anne? The face of the sitting governor, the face of Aladwa, the face of Moses Korea, and all that. First of all, before we begin the debate, would you want to register your interest, to the people? Ababado.
My sister,
right.
It seems you are behind the schedule.
Okay.
This is a matter that...
Update me.
It's a journey that we started a long time ago.
Okay.
And we are on the way. We are moving because we are nearing to an election. We are just 1.5 years to an election. And we have declared our interest for the gubernatorial seat in the city of Nairobi. This is where we belong. Okay. And that is how our constitution is and does interpret that whoever has a vision of a particular position You throw yourself to the people, talk to the people, seek vote from the people, and if the majority votes or you attain the threshold required, then you becomes to what you are looking for.
Right.
And democratically, this country cannot close anybody as much as you attain the compliances of that particular process. Therefore, I am a contender in this Nairobi gubernatorial race. And what I would like to say is, it is not anything new. We are now moving to fourth election of a governor in the whole Republic of Kenya, because we went for the new system in 2012, 2013. And in 2022, we were at our third election for this particular devolution. And we are moving to the fourth. And declaring to be an interest party does not lock anybody from being a competitor.
Right.
Anybody, according to the law, is allowed by the law to compete, and that's why it's higher the competition. And we leave it to a JICO of Nairobi to decide at the tail end who carries the mantle. And the mantle is carried by the majority.
Well, the majority, interesting. And you look at the faces that have at least declared their interest, no joke, you know. The likes of Babu Owino, Agnes, as I have mentioned, Moses Kuria, Irungu Nyakera, George Aladwa, James Gakuya, the sitting governor. This is the heart of the nation. And therefore, we must all immerse ourselves in understanding the politics of Nairobi and just how best it goes, so that, you know, the nation is run in the best way. It houses the national government. Wakili, what do you make of this race? And I'm just looking at the utterances of politicians recently.
You know, it's a tragedy that would you like me to address about the Nairobi issue, or in terms of the persons you have?
Well, Nairobi largely first, and then of course the persons. We cannot run away from that.
It's for me, the tragedy is, and this has nothing to do, you know, with a personal reference to him as a person, but over time, other than the declaration of someone that, you know, I have an interest in this or that gubernatorial position, other than that declaration, we never get to hear what this person stands for in terms of national values, aspirations, moral values, religious values, or even societal values. Other than that, I mean, other than them saying, and then we will hear after they have probably been nominated by their political party, we never get to know their ideological leanings way before, so that then we can say, well, you know, among that array of people that have offered themselves, I think their ideological stance taken by so-and-so appeals to me, or it would take us farther as a people. Well, we have people who are propped up by their political parties as the best candidate. Look at the failure in Nairobi, for instance. Look at the total absolute neglect. The Urban Areas and Cities Act places the management of Nairobi City County and any other city in the hands of a county manager. We do not have that. And yet, this particular governor wants to go on usurping that role. And so this array of people, I would like to question them. Okay, what do you make of, for instance, the poor people in Nairobi? How do you intend to deal with them over your space of tenure? Or how do you intend to raise revenue and expend that revenue? When we have our people saying that, I'm interested in this gubernatorial position, so what? Excuse me, you're going to entrench, and that's what I see, nothing personal to him. You're going to entrench the cartels that have been there. The current governor has said, for instance, they've been unable to fight the garbage collectors cartels. And so what do they end up doing? Working with them. They don't uproot that vice, the cancer that eats up the Nairobi people. And you look at the cultural expressions of a county, for instance, Nairobi City County, it is tasteless. We do not have any art, no culture, no music festivals, no recreation centers, no places for the Kenyan people to feel the space of being Nairobians. at all.
You think Sakaja has not done that? I think the first time of his term, there was a lot of activity, cultural activity that he set up in Nairobi. But anyway, of course, perhaps it should be a continuous thing. And most of the times, most of these leaders are not able to sustain some of the things or the programs that they bring on board. But what goes first, Wakili, just to come to you?
Let me finish with that one statement.
Make it.
Then I'll give it the floor.
Yeah.
Okay, what will these people offer us as, Nairobi residents? What will they offer us? What do they have that is so unique, that is going to elevate the average Nairobi resident? And how will they then live up to that expectation?
And that would be my question to Wakili here.
How do we get to know until that time they say that, okay, I'm on the ballot paper.
Okay.
I hate that. I don't want it. I want to know exactly what you stand for so that you don't tell me I'm judging you as against a blueprint which does not exist, or I'm inventing myself. I want to judge you based on what exactly that you told me that you're going to do and how you're delivering.
What goes first, Wakili? The declaration that you are interested, or you first of all come with your manifesto and tell us the plans, and then you say, I am interested. And to be fair to these persons that have declared their interest, is that most of the times they talk about the things that they want to address in Nairobi, perhaps not articulate an entire manifesto that comes later. But many a times they would tell you, even in the simplest form of a slogan, that this is what we intend for Nairobi.
Yeah, Linda, we can start blaming those people. They have declared their interest. I don't want to blame them. I listened to Honorable Gakuya. He said that his candidature is a matter of public knowledge, but I didn't hear him speak about what the issues, Nairobi issues are. I would want to listen to those people and hear what they are talking about, the issues in Nairobi. My point is that we need to stand down the politicians for the time being, who wants to be what in Nairobi, and ask ourselves as those living in Nairobi, that what does Nairobi need? What is our problem? And then what does Nairobi need? Then once we are clear about what Nairobi needs, then we can then discuss what is the character and the ability of the person that we need. Because if we allow ourselves to start discussing names now, we are actually popularizing them at the expense, probably, of the kind of person we need who has not declared interest, okay? So in my view, Nairobi is a complex cosmopolitan center that needs a manager with not only the skill, but the experience to manage, the various facets of Nairobi, the industries, the neighborhoods, the traffic, the technology, and so on and so forth. So that is one thing that we need to settle on. Once we have settled on it as a people, then we need to measure all these people that are propping up and telling us that they want to be governors, whether they can measure up to that. The problem that we should deal with at this moment, and those trying to alter the narrative, for instance, trying to introduce ethnic mobilization in the choice of the Nairobi governor, and saying that Nairobi gubernatorial seat and other seats in Nairobi, belong to a particular ethnic group. That one we need to criticize and come together as Nairobians, because when we struggle in traffic, okay, when we are struggling with the cost of living, when we are struggling with the cost of housing, when we are struggling with the garbage, we don't struggle as ethnic groups. We actually struggle as Nairobi residents.
But the point was that Nairobi is set for DCP and Wiper.
And that's the problem. When you say Nairobi is set for DCP and Wiper, you basically reframe the argument from what does Nairobi need, okay? And I keep saying Nairobi should be able to get anybody to lead it, even if you come from an El Molo community. Okay? And that you do not have to be railroaded to be in an ethnic aligned political setup for you to lead Nairobi. All that you need to do is to be somebody who can speak about the issues that are affecting Nairobi. I mean, the New York City has just elected somebody who is considered a minority. The president of the US might have a problem with him, but the people of New York have chosen him to be their leader. Okay, and so we need to get there. Okay, and it is unfortunate that we can then be confined to certain people and measure them in terms of the ethnic numbers that they can bring on board. Because we might deny that here, but that's what's happening out there.
But
we watch it on TV.
He's a proponent.
That point that he's making.
Okay.
That point he's making. Just allow me to interject.
30 seconds.
Yeah. That point he's making, in my view, is a fixation with the politician, as opposed to the constitutional entrenchment of the Urban Areas and Cities Act, which brings in a manager, a professional manager. And this is, in my humble view, the dichotomy between what the law actually does envisage and demand and what actually the politicians are doing. We have a politician whom they want to vote as a governor, which is allowed under the County Governments Act, under the Constitution. But the management of a city such as Nairobi is supposed to be under a county manager. That's how his El Molo proposition comes in. Unfortunately, that is not being given space because the politician will feel edged out, irrelevant.
Wakil is rephrasing the issue.
30 seconds.
The issue is, Nairobi, unlike probably Mombasa, Nakuru, Kisumu, the city is the urban area.
Right.
Okay? We do not have a rural Nairobi. And so the question is, how do you have a manager appointed to take over? Because if you look at
the law, it's there, Section 13 of the Urban Areas and Cities Act.
Allow me. If you look at the role of a city board and a city manager, it is basically to manage the role of managing the city is then given up by the governor and the county to them. The uniqueness of Nairobi is that Nairobi, the entire urban area is the county. You get me?
We have to close,
so that is a discussion we need to get into.
And
I don't think the Urban Area and Cities Act, especially with regard to manager, can work in Nairobi the way it works in other countries.
Is it almost similar to what happened? Was it what was this arrangement after so relinquished some?
No, the NMS was a political.
NMS, nothing.
That's different.
That is different. Mheshimiwa, I wish we had time. We would have allowed you to tell us what it is that you have for Nairobi, and above everything, tell us whether DCP is more of an ethnic party or more of a national party. But then, because time is not on our side,
I think what you need to do is to look for a particular session.
I will invite
those interested governors. But the time is not yet for others to come out.
Okay.
But I think the best way to judge somebody is by taking him to task. Let him also explain himself.
Right.
Let him also tell Nairobians what he's capable of. Yes, and I think without being given that an opportunity, you're going to judge somebody wrongly, and it will not be fair.
Okay.
And as much as the law is concerned, as much as you attain the compliance, nobody can stop you from being a contender.
Right.
And I think the decision is at the tail end to what we call constituency choice. Because at the tail end, you don't elect yourself. You move to the ballot for the people to elect. And therefore, whoever will attain majority, we will call him the governor.
Let me close at that. Thank you so much, Honorable James Gakuya, the Member of Parliament, Embakasi North, as well as Harrison Kinyanjui, Advocate of the High Court, and Joshua Nyamori, equally Advocate of the High Court. And you back at home, immense feedback. We appreciate you, and we look forward to see you again tomorrow morning. Thank you so much for always keeping it at TV 47. My name is Linda Alela. Over to Odida.